to this computer.
Okay,
Right.
I wanted to talk about my school.
Oh, Sam.
I want to
Hey.
talk. Hey, hey.
Hey, great to see you, Dan.
I am sweaty. It's so hot here.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just
you
got
look
home.
good. You look very handsome.
don't you
Thank
need
you.
Glad to
dinner?
hear.
Don't you need dinner?
I do have chores that I will be doing simultaneously, so I'm going to mute myself, but I will
Okay.
be listening.
All
Yeah.
right, sweetheart.
Wait.
Oh, I
You
can't wait. No, I'm serious. I don't think I'm in the group chat that is getting the text messages for these.
Maybe the wrong phone number.
Maybe because that'd be so funny with my dad's number.
That happened before. That's so
Uh,
funny.
yeah, just check. Well, you just texted the right one, so I don't know. Because the last time that I got grandma sent the text as the reminder of it, I was like, I didn't even know about it in the first place. So I don't think I'm getting the right texts because I didn't know about this one either. But
And
no big deal.
we're going to do most Tuesdays. We can't do them all. We can't do next Tuesday, but I'll check and make sure I get the right text number for you. I'm sorry if I
That's
messed up.
okay.
Yeah.
Holly
No,
says she didn't realize we were back to weekly and she feels terrible. And we're gonna
that's
save that for posterity. It's recorded right here.
yeah, that's where I was just came from. They're leaving tomorrow morning, so
Yeah.
That's right.
yeah. So you're coming next weekend?
We are. Yeah, we're coming. We're going to be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Come home Monday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Perfect.
Yeah. We'll arrive Friday night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I will mute myself. I can't wait to listen.
All right. Love you.
I love you guys.
Love you too.
Okay.
Okay, so I was going to talk about my school
I think
tonight.
I'm gonna turn off his. Zan, is it okay if I stop? Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's better. It's very distracting.
It sure was. Oh, well.
Are we
Okay.
recorded?
Yes,
Okay,
we are
okay.
recording.
I was going to talk about my school tonight. My little town of 702 people, and it was a school that served the farming community. The town was a town that served the farming community, so that the school boundaries went out about 20 miles from the school out in the countryside and brought students in to school every day and took them home every afternoon. And my school, it was kindergarten through 12th grade. And we all attended the same school for 11 years. I attended for 11 years. And the school was like a community center for the whole town. And so my Sunday school, I mean, not my teachers, I think I remember there was Miss Jennings, Miss Steed, Miss Smith, Miss Gordon, Miss Wyatt, Miss Graves, and Burkhead. Those were my teachers, and they were all very well and good, and they all stayed there the whole 11 years I was there. So there wasn't any turnover to speak of, and I had the same principal for 11 years. And so one of the highlights of my school was that we danced every day for 8 years. We had recess in the morning, recess in the afternoon, and we had uh, dancing at some point during the day. And we would go to the gym and we would learn a dance and we would dance it. And the town was a dancing town too, so that every week they had a dance at the school and the adults came in and danced. It was an interesting place to be for dance. And so I ended up we all ended up being good dancers. and, and it was pretty funny. But I was wanted to talk about the school. The school was a kind of like a community place for the community. There's not much else in town, and so everything was happening at the school. And we even had a cannery there, and the principal ran it. And people would go get vegetables and peaches and bring them there, and they would can them there. And he was the head of it and managed it and made it. So that was I used to go as a little kid and be there at the school when they would canning all the food. It was a much interesting place. And then my my school experience was pretty nice, and I I got to know most everybody. Well, actually, I got to know everybody. But one of the things was I went to the cafeteria every day when I was in elementary school, and the main cook was named Novella, and I really liked her. She really liked me because I love vegetables, and she would serve me more vegetables than anybody else wanted, and I ate them. And so we got to be good friends, and I would sometimes go by to visit her with my mother when I was in elementary school. And then when I went to college, when I came back from college, I would go visit her. And she would always ask me, well, what are you doing now and what's going on? I would tell her. So we were friends until I left North Carolina. But it was a good thing. And then when I was in 8th grade, I told my mother that one day I told her I'm going to go and get a haircut today. I'm away after school. I'm going to get a mohawk. And she said, a mohawk? I said, yes. She said, wow. And so I did. And all the kids were there in the barbershop watching me. And Charlie was there. And he said, I will get one of those too. And he got up and got one. So both of us had mohawks. And we went to school the next day. And we were in the same class. And I had somewhere along the line between my 1st grade and my 8th grade, I had come to the conclusion that memorizing things was cheating. And why would I want to memorize anything if I didn't know how it worked? And so I started only learning things that I understood and could remember how they worked and functioned. So that as a result, I didn't memorize much. And I remember I did memorize one thing in 5th grade, but this was not 8th grade, and I wasn't memorizing things. And so the assignment was to memorize this poem and repeat it at class. And the teacher his name was Burkhead, and he called on me to come to do the poem that I was supposed to learn. I said, I didn't learn the poem. He said, you didn't learn the poem? I said, no, I didn't. He said, I don't memorize things. And he said, come up here, stand here beside my desk. Now tell me, you repeat that poem to me. I said, I don't know it. I didn't learn it. I don't memorize it. I didn't memorize it. He was very, very angry at me. Very angry. He turned red. And I sat down. And then I came to school in Mohawk, and he demanded that the principal expel me. And the principal did, to support the teacher.
I'm getting a little more context than I've heard before. Yeah.
You heard that before?
I remember
Yes.
the mohawk, but not the reason why that you got expelled, that the teacher demanded that. I didn't remember that.
Yes. And so that turned out to be a mistake, because my daddy and my mother said under no circumstances is he going to get his hair cut. It's his hair. He's our child. We will not be doing this. Right. So then the word got out, and the whole town was a tether. Right? Javan has been expelled from school for getting a mohawk haircut. Can you believe that? And Charlie too. and so we had always been hoping that there'd be another hurricane and school would be closed and we'd be able to free to go out and play a bit, so that Charlie and I were expelled and we were able to play tennis and go around and stuff for 2 weeks. We were just having an incredible time.
It was more of a hurricane.
A hurricane. It was a hurricane, or the absence thereof. So what happened is it got pretty tense, right? And it was obvious that nothing was going to move. And so my principal, which we were relatively close, I would say, he came to our house and he asked my mom and dad if he could talk to me alone in the room, and they said yes. And so he came in and he talked to me and he explained what I just told you. He said, so I'm really in a hard place here, and I need you to shave your head and you can come back to school. He said, now, I'm not saying that you have to do it. I'm saying that I'm really in a hard place on this and I need your help. Would you help me by doing that? And I, of course, said, well, of course I will. I will do that tomorrow. Yes, I will. He said, well, thank you very much. It means a lot to me. So that's what happened. I went to the barbershop that morning and got my hair cut, and Charlie got his cut, and we went back to school. And I went back in that teacher's classroom, and it wasn't very friendly. And it never was.
But you sure became friendly with your principal.
I came from yeah. So that when the next year I went into high school, freshman, and I was the second year was I was junior, sophomore, and I was taking physics, and the principal taught the physics, and sometimes he had to be away because of his administrative duties. And he would ask me to teach the physics class because I was the only one that read it and understood it. So I would be teaching the physics class while he had to go to those meetings. And that was it was interesting, thing that. And then I think the next year, I think I was a junior by then. That he said he asked me if I would like to go with him to Chapel Hill for lectures that professors there were teaching principals of schools some current classes, things that were currently going on in certain departments. And he said, well, go by and I'll pick up the principal in the next town on our way. And we go up and we go to the lecture and we talk about it on the way home. And I said, I'd love to go. So he came by every month and picked me up, and we went and picked the other principal up, and we went to Chapel Hill and we went to these classes, and some of them were really fascinating. And we talked about them on the way back, and it was such an amazing thing because I was the only one there that happened. And I think he was nurturing me, encouraging me, and
Mentoring you.
mentoring me, so that to a certain degree, he did mentor me. And he was a very precious person. And I loved him. And he was very, very good for me. And it was exciting. Yeah. And then I played basketball and played football. I played basketball for 3 years. And I played football for 2 years. And he was the coach.
He did all purpose.
Yeah. So he was all purpose, like a polymath guy, And so then so we go to basketball practice every afternoon and football practice every afternoon. And it was fun. And it was interesting. It was interesting.
Was he the band director also?
No, he wasn't. He had a band director. Yeah. But I was in the band too. I played in the band, and I played. I played at halftime in my basketball suit or my football suit. But it was a fun town. And the while we were doing that, when Charlie and I were playing tennis, we were playing in the backyard of the Presbyterian church because I had become interested in tennis when I was about 11 years old, and I went down to Pinehurst and bought a tennis racket, and I started hitting the ball on a wall to learn how to do it. And I got a book from Pancho Gonzalez, and I learned how to play tennis from the book. And so that was how I started. And then I would go down to Pinehurst and play tennis there. All the courts were sand and clay. And my daddy said, gosh, you really like that. He knew a lot about sand and gravel and soils and stuff like that. He said, I'm looking into building you a tennis court. We'll see. It's a good place in the back of the church, and we'll go talk to the church and see if they'd like us to build a couple of tennis courts back there. I said, I'll do it.
He was in the business.
He was in the business, not making tennis courts, but selling sand and gravel. So he researched how much clay and sand you mix together to make a sand and clay court. So he figured that out, and he did it. He made it, and he bought his big machines out, and he dug the ground up, and then he filled it with this sand and clay. And then he rolled it and patted it down and smoothed it and made it flat and everything. And so we had 2 tennis courts in the backyard of the Presbyterian church. And Larry Green, our fishing buddy, he was a carpenter. And so he said, I'll come and build the fence and the gates. So he built the fence and the gates, and we had a tennis court, and that's where I played most of my time while I was in elementary school. But so that was a nice story.
It's nice,
for my tennis, and I went on to play tennis the rest of my life until I fell on the court at age 63.
I had a question, Javan, about the memorizing, because that's such an interesting thing to decide was cheating. And I guess I was curious how that changed your attitude about memorization. I understood it was about you ought to understand it. You shouldn't just repeat it back without understanding it. So, did that remain your belief, or?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. So it was a weird thing. I also learned that you don't need to learn anything that you can't retain.
Yeah.
But what's learning is to be embodied in you, and it's supposed to work in you. And you're supposed to know it really well so that you can function with it. And so that it was one of those things that it was sort of like created some freedom and independence kind of thing. So that sort of influenced me too.
It made it more honest. Like when I was learning plan giving, which was very complicated, charitable remainder unit trusts and all that stuff. This one other person said, well, you've got the words right. You've got the words. So in other words, I could tell somebody about something that I didn't really understand.
Yeah.
I think that was the dishonesty that you were talking about. It was not embodied.
Yeah. So basically what that did is it said, it programmed me to learn be as careful as I could, and be as aware as I could, and be as attentive as I could, and learn as much as I could, so I could carry it with me.
Yeah, that's really true. I didn't retain anything from college, even or grad school, that I didn't continue to use in conversation or in my life.
Yeah.
I don't even remember probably many of the classes. Zan says me either. and he
Yeah.
chatted that. Yeah.
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 So that was sort of something that happened along the way. And I know that when I after my 11th year, they closed the high school down where I was, and they built a new one, and they consolidated two other schools, and they were three. One had 15 students, and the other one had 15, and they and ours were we had 12, so we had about 45 people in the graduating class, but we only had 15 from my high school that I'd been for 3 years. And so my graduating class really was 12 people. And I was the only person that went to college.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
But there
amazing.
were the year ahead of you, some people went. Those were your friends.
A year behind me.
Oh, behind
one
you.
ahead, one ahead, and two behind me.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I was the only one in my class that went to college. And the funny thing was is that when I went to this new high school, my last year, 1 year there, the counselor, they had a counselor there. Okay, this is a funny story. And she was giving people IQ tests. And I was taking the IQ test, and I was looking at it, and I was looking at the questions. I was looking at what she told me to do. And I said, I think she got that wrong.
Backwards.
And I went and said, I think that you tell me that the instructions are not quite accurate. They should be more like this. And she said, no, they shouldn't. I said, well, okay.
It's like one was high and it should have been
Yeah,
low.
something like that. And anyway, I realized that was not received well.
Mhm.
But the other thing is, I talked about being interested in the Navy, and I did go to the Navy, 2-day thing, and I took tests and stuff. But she said, "Oh man, no way you can get in the Navy. You probably wouldn't even be able to get in the Army." I said, "My
Your
IQ,
IQ is very low.
such a low IQ, such a low IQ. It's a wonder I could have made it through the door." But so I graduated on Thursday night, and I entered college on Sunday morning. I had 2 days off. Okay, so why did I go? Why did I do that? I wanted to go to college and find out if I was going to be able to go to college and do well. And if I wasn't, I didn't want to waste my time. So I went. And it's a funny story. I got to this guy that was he was a roommate signed to me, and he didn't study, and he went out and drank and played.
Poker.
And yeah. And I felt, oh my gosh, these people are so smart. They don't have to study, and they can drink and play all the time. And I mean, I'm really going to flunk out here, man. And that week, I went into the bookstore, and I saw this book on the rack, and it said "Science in the Modern World," Alfred North Whitehead, and it's a pretty cover. And I thought, I like science. I like learning. And so I took the book and I took it home, and to the dorm room, and I was by myself because he was out playing, and I started reading it, and I could not understand it. I had no idea what was going on, and it was philosophy. Well, when I went that 12th year, there was the library had some Plato books in there, and it said philosophy above it, and I had become so interested in philosophy, so I built down there and looked at them, and little bitty books about this big,
Yellow.
and they were Plato dialogues. So I took one out and checked it out, and took it home and read it, and I totally understood that. I was really, really clear on it. And so I read them all. And the librarian said, boy, no one has ever even picked those books up. And you read them all. She said, that's really, really good. And then later on in the year, we're supposed to write a essay in literature and an essay in civics. It was required
senior project.
Yeah, senior project research kind of thing. And I was thinking about, I do it on the Creek Indians in Montgomery County on the river. And so I talked to both of them, and they said, "Oh yeah, that'd be a great project. We'll help you as much as we can." And then the librarian found out about it. His name was Miss Russell. And she said, "Oh yeah, I'll help you with this." She said, "What you'll need, you do need some of this stuff from Raleigh. You need on the Creek Indians, and you get, and I'll order them, and they'll come in. I'll give them to you." And so she did, and they came in, and I said, "Whoa, this is amazing." And then I had all this other documents I was reading. I studied them. I wrote this article, literature and civics that focused on the Creek Indians, and it was like in the tribes, and it was a big deal. It was a big paper, and it was pretty well done. It was like college work, right? And so I got to college. I knew what to do. I'd already done it. So I knew how it worked. But it was an interesting thing that happened there. As it turned out, my roommate flunked out, and I made B's right out of high school. And I figured, okay, this is going to be all right. I'm going to be able to do this. And so that's what happened for the first right off. And that's what happened. And then I applied to St. Andrews College, and I applied to North Carolina State. And North Carolina State accepted me in the civil engineering department course to be there. And my mother asked me if I could go to St. Andrews College for 2 years and then transfer. So we made a deal with NC State that I'd go there 2 years and then transfer to NC State in this civil engineering classes. So that's what I did.
Why did she want you to go there?
Yeah, and
Hey, Van, why did she want you to go to St. Andrews?
she wanted me to get humanities classes, courses of other things than mathematics and
That
engineering.
was a good parenting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I did, and
She never went to college. It's like so beautiful. She knew to do that.
Yeah.
I've done it. So what happened is, I went in there, started up freshman, and they had a thing called Christianity and Culture, and they had 6 professors, and they had classes for 6 days, Monday through Saturday, and each professor gave a lecture 1 day a week, and then the other professors would talk about it, and then they would open it up to the class to talk about it, and they would have a break, and they would go for an hour with one of the professors. Would have 20 people, and we would talk about the reading and the lecture. And at one point, the issue of secondary sources came up, and they all said, no one here is to read any secondary sources. We know what they think. We don't know what you think. You are the only one that can tell us. So we want you to think about this, read it, and tell us what you think, and we'll discuss it. But we don't, if you read the secondary sources, it's not going to be good, because we don't want to hear that. And so for 3 years, I had this total absolute order, no secondary sources. And so I basically was trained like not relying on memory, but read it, think about yourself, and talk about it yourself, what you experienced and what you thought. And so it was amazing class. Everybody was like really excited, because the professors wanted to know what we thought. And I remember the first week they told you, you don't really have to read or anything. You can go to class. You don't even have to go to class. And I thought, well, one day I decided to go out and play tennis all day, and I did. And so I went to class the next day and hadn't read it. And I was sitting there, and I even remember his name. His name was Dr. Fulcher. I was sitting there, and he's Mr. Reed. Yeah. I said, well, what did you think about the reading for today? I said, I didn't read it. He said, he leaned over and he says, you didn't read it? Why are you here? And I didn't have an answer. He said, well, let me suggest that if you don't read it, don't come. And if you do come, have read it. I said, yes, sir. And I read my lesson every day since then.
So who told you you didn't have to read it?
I don't know, some kid, maybe the guy that flunked out.
I think so.
but anyway, that was a fun thing. But what happened is in that first year, I got exposed to everything you can imagine that I never heard about in my little school. And I was blown away. I mean, really, literally blown away. I was like astonished and ecstatic. And by the end of that year, I wasn't going to be a civil engineer, and my session at my church had asked me my senior year that they hadn't been with me all this time, and they think that I really need to consider being a minister and entering the ministry of the Presbyterian Church. And I said, well, no, I'm going to be a civil engineer. I'm not going to do that.
Thank you anyway.
And thank you anyway. And after that year, I said, my God, that's really a great idea. So I went under care of Presbytery. And what they did is they sent me down to this battery of tests for 5 days. And I was there for 5 days, and they gave me all kinds of tests. And I remember he kept giving me tests and stuff. And then towards the end, he gave me a riddle. And I don't remember what the riddle was. Something about something going across the river and taking something and going back and getting it and something. He said, he said, so I'll give you some time to think about it. Let me know what you think. I said, okay. So he went away and he came back. And I said, I almost have it. He said, well, it's time. I said, okay, here's this. And I told him, he said, yeah, that's correct. No one else has ever got it. Right? I said, okay. And then he said, we'll finish with your tests. And you have a very, very high intelligence. And you could do pretty much anything that you choose to do. And yes, you could be a very good minister. So that was it. So I was sitting on my way. And yeah. Anyway, that was how that happened. And then so I finished. I ran cross country while I was there. Not because I was my choice, but I did it. I was roommate with Larry Bowers, and I would play tennis, and he ran distance. Great big thighs, almost as big as my arm.
Calves. Yeah. Calves.
Calves, yeah, almost as big as my arm, but not quite. But anyway, so we're running. We were running. So I said, well, sure. I said, you don't play tennis? He said, that's a sissy game. I said, yeah, it's a sissy game, right? You want to go run? Yeah. Well, I've been running a lot to keep in shape.
For tennis.
Right? So it wasn't a big deal for me, but he didn't know that. But he learned soon. So we ran around the river 4 miles and
lake.
And said, well, is this it? Is this all? Oh no, we can run around and then. I said, oh, cool, let's go run around then. So running around the 4 mile river or lake again, and about 2/3 of the mile around, he broke his foot, and he couldn't walk. He had to lean on. I said, what do you mean, a big runner like this? You have to lean on a sissy tennis player? He said, it hurts. I said, I bet it does. So then he had to get a brace, and he couldn't run. And he said, I won't be able to run in cross street too. I can't run the race. You know, you're going to have to do it for me. I said, me? I don't run. I don't run races. I'm not a racer. He said, well, you better than I am. I said, well, I don't know about that. So anyway, he said, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got I said, all right. I said, so I'll try it. So I went and tried it, and I of course didn't have any problem, but it was one of those funny things that just like happened. And then I come home and say, well, you ready? Is you healed up yet? You ready to play tennis? Right. That was going on the whole time. And so then, you know, on and on and on. So finally, up to about, I have know how long it was, but he finally showed up where he could walk on the tennis court. And I started playing, and he just couldn't believe how hard it was. He said, I had no idea how hard this was. There's no way I can do this. I said, I know. It's hard, isn't it? He said, yeah. I said, okay. So it's not a sissy game. He said, no, it's not a sissy game. Anyway, that's a story about that. That's that. I was on the tennis team and on the cross country team, and it was a lot of fun. And
you and Larry got into some trouble there, and somebody came to visit you at the dorm, I remember, while you were hiking.
Zan has a question too.
Good.
He said, you have to mention how you'd eat a dozen donuts on the way home after picking up donuts for your roommates during cross country, he said. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was when I lived on Lake Merritt. I was running about 12 miles a day then, and I could eat a whole dozen donuts and not faze me. So I would go to the donut shop on Saturday morning and get 2 dozen, and I would eat 1 dozen on the way back. It was about 10 minutes away. I drove very slow, and then went in with a dozen donuts. And they always tell you, don't want you do you want a donut or not? I said, I don't really think so. Let's see. That was funny, but it was. Oh, never mind. Anyway, going back to the college, so that it was an amazing experience, and the more years I was there. By the 3rd year, I was only taking, senior classes, and after 3 years, I went there thinking they would have a philosophy major, and they said they would have, and they didn't have. So I had all my courses were in philosophy. I'd gone to NC State between the first and second year and taken symbolic logic, and I made an A. So just to brag about that a little bit. And then I went back, and then I took these graduate courses, senior courses, and then so then I had to transfer because they didn't have a major in philosophy, and that's where all my credits were. So I transferred to Chapel Hill in University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, in the philosophy department, and so they said, well, you have 105 hours, and you only need 100 to graduate, but you have to be in residence a year. I said, fine. So I had a year of electives, and I basically took all doctoral courses that year. And I took a course in intermediate symbolic logic, which is more difficult than just symbolic logic, but it was good too. And to brag more, I made a C. And 1 doctoral student passed with a B, and all the others failed. So I mean, just you think about it, it's an interesting school story, and then I graduated with philosophy major and a social studies minor, and went to Austin, Texas, to Presbyterian Seminary, Austin, Texas, and that was interesting. I thought that I would get away from the racism in North Carolina, and I would be free of that. And I got there, and there wasn't any racism against black people because there weren't very many black people, but there was intense racism against people from Mexico. And it was exactly the same. There was no difference. And I was just saddened. I was hurt. I was just shocked that was that where it was, and that was hard. Um, anyway,
Can you
while I was there, huh?
Javan, could you like define the racism that like or give examples, or is that too hard to record? Because I think it would be
There was a attitude of superiority
uh-huh.
and an attitude of entitlement and an attitude of um, dominance, an attitude of anger and hate and viciousness. It was just so thick in Texas against people from Mexico, and it doesn't have anything to do with them at all. You can just, I mean, whatever color you are, people could do that to you, and I just was so sad. And when I moved to California and lived in Marin and San Francisco and Berkeley, and I didn't find that. I didn't find it there. I found a lot of people who were very open and welcoming. And some of them treated me like I was really stupid because I talked like I was from North Carolina, and I explained to them I wasn't. But anyway, so you know, I got some of that when I got there because of that, because of my accent. And, I don't have an accent anymore.
Oh, good.
I mean, you see those guff oil trucks, man. It's watch out. But so anyway, yeah, it was all those things. Then it was bad. I was glad to get to California. I finally, but it's hard. It's very hard. Yeah. So anyway, I got to Texas, and the seminary had an agreement with the University of Texas that we could take doctoral classes at the university. So Dr. Charles Hartshorn was teaching, and I took a class from him every semester in process philosophy, process theology, and process thinking. And so I finally understood science in the modern world. and because I had never read secondary sources, I didn't know anything about things like that. Now, this is what I'm talking about. When he gave the lecture on science in the modern world at Harvard, the philosophy department head said, coming out of the lecture, I understood every word he used, but I have no idea what he's talking about.
I've tried to read that book 3 times. I couldn't do it.
So that was the book. And then later on, I read that it was one of the most difficult philosophical books ever written. So, I mean, here I am, right out of college, right out of high school, and wondering if I'm smart enough to be there, reading this most difficult book, one of the most difficult books ever written, and on the subject it was on. And I'm like, boy, if someone had told me that a while ago, it would have been a lot It's been good. But now I understand it. I can read it now. I mean, by the time I finished studying with him for 2 years, I could understand pretty much everything.
Heather's going to master it.
No, we won't be reading that book.
I've just been dipping in a little. Yeah.
No, I got some easier books. than that
Sounds
one.
good.
I would recommend that to anyone. Anyway, so that was at Austin.
We're out of time.
All the time. Okay, well, in Austin is where I took those classes with Charles Hartshorne, and then he wrote me a letter of recommendation to Berkeley. So I got in that class, and I asked him, well, who should I study with when I get there? He said, you should study with Bernard Loomer. He's the key process philosopher in the Bay Area. I said, okay. So I studied with him for 5 more years. Yeah. And by then, I was pretty good on it. I had it down pretty well. And anyway, it was fun. It was great. It was great because it turned out it's just what I needed. It's just the thing I needed because I could understand it. I thought it was just accurate. And I thought it was helpful, and all that stuff. And yeah. So when the other thing is when I was at Austin, between the end of my second year, right towards the end of my second year there, they also had a battery of tests. We went to have students have those tests. So I had another test, and this guy said, "Well, my God, you same thing." He said, "You're really, really highly intelligent, and man, he said, you got an IQ about 150. You know that?" I said, "No, I didn't know that." And so, I went on, and I never thought to check out what that meant. And I mean, I was reading that book, Righteous Mind, and it was talking about IQs and had charts and everything. I said, "Oh, wow, that's way over there." it was a funny thing, but it was interesting. Yeah, so that was my career at Austin, and then I went on to the Bay Area, and worked there. I went to finish seminary there because after 2 years, after 3 years, no, 2 years, after 2.5 years, yeah, the third year, I didn't have enough courses to graduate because I'd had so many electives. So I transferred to San Francisco Seminary, and lo and behold, I had all the courses required, and all I needed was to be there a year to get the degree. So again, I took all electives. And anyway, that's how it went.
School.
That's pretty much my education.
Yeah. I'd love to hear how you applied that process philosophy when you were a minister, how you shared that with, how that became a part of the thinking you're thinking about being a minister.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah.
When I went under care presbytery, I had to go to presbytery and give a sermon, and I gave it on the story about the father and the son.
Prodigal.
And the
prodigal son.
The prodigal son. They call it prodigal son. But he wasn't that prodigal. My sermon was on the prodigal father. So you sort of get the gist of it. And I preached a process theology sermon on that parable.
How did it go over?
Well, I think people were a little disoriented. because I was in the room waiting for them to call me for about an hour. And usually it takes like 5 to 10 minutes. And I kept thinking, well, I think maybe I made a good impression, or at least an impression. And one of the session members was there. His name was Ed Kenyon. He was the lawyer for the town. And the other people said, well, Ed just got up and he just got up and did his lawyer thing and said, it's time for you to vote. This is our guy. This is our boy. This is us. And we want you to approve this. And so they all voted to approve me. So that's how I got to get under cure, find the final stage. But yeah, I always preach process philosophy, process theology sermons.
We didn't know that's what they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was
I think I still, I mean, I was raised on your preaching, but I don't totally know what process philosophy is. And I'm going to say other people listening to this wouldn't, and it might be too complicated to explain, but like if you are good at boiling it down.
It's very easy to explain. The father in the parable is the prodigal father. He loves his children, and he loves them no matter what. So that because he's in relationship with them, they're related, and everything is social, and everything is relational, and everything is based on feelings, and love is a feeling. So that the process philosophy, process theology is completely shaped around that. It's relational, it's social, it's personal, it's feelings. And the things that are real are relationships and feelings. That's what's real. And subject. The subject is what's alive. The object is not what's alive. It's a relationship in dynamic process of sharing with everything in its realm and vice versa. And God is part of that. God shares and receives relationships that we have with God, and God's relationships with us. And we are formed through that process. And God forms the society in the best possible way possible. But if we behave badly, it's more difficult. But if we behave beautifully, then it's more beautiful. That's simple way.
So some people can tell you the story of the prodigal son, and they forget that the father did not wait for the son to say he was sorry. The father, when he saw him, started running down the road to hug him.
That's right.
He didn't wait for an apology.
It's the brother that has a problem with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, your brother that had the problem. Huh? Yeah.
Brother
So-
wants conditional love. Should be
Yeah.
conditional love instead of unconditional. Yeah,
Mhm.
Only be loved if you're good.
Yeah.
that's right. Which is very sad.
Yeah.
Is that simple enough?
Yeah, thank you. And I like that you used the word, you called it beautiful too, because I think I was surprised to learn that the aesthetics is so important too. The process philosophy.
That's because it's balance and proportion.
Mm.
That God responds proportionally,
Mhm.
so that God is able to respond sensitively to the uniqueness of each person and their experience
Mhm.
and their feeling, and appreciate their feeling and feel it.
Mhm.
So, pretty good. I liked it. It was me. It was for me.
Yeah, I liked your sermons. Yeah, I found that to be, yeah, I loved your sermons when I was a kid going to
Oh.
your church. Yeah.
That's
I
good.
think it helped shape me as a human to listen to your worldview.
Couldn't
Because
agree.
like love, I learned to love. I learned about divine love for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and beauty and earth land relations. Those were a part of your, yeah, it was always about love for sure.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And reality is social.
Mhm.
Reality is relational. Reality is based on feelings.
Mhm.
And reality is a subjective experience of creation and intuition.
Mhm.
And that's what's real. What's subjective is objectified and it is finished, but it becomes a resource for subjective feelings.
Right.
That what I just told you is the hardest point for most people.
That we have feelings about finished things that are become the objects are, you said objects are finished things, and then we have feelings about those, and that's,
That's the
yeah.
process.
That's the
Relational,
process.
social relational process
Yeah.
and feelings. That's what's real.
But kind of, it's not real to think of things as just objects. Is that right?
Yes.
Because even atoms have feelings.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's no things. There's materialism is
Yeah.
just like an appearance, maybe, but not
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. But objectivity comes from subjectivity. Objectivity
Yeah,
is
because yeah.
created by subjectivity.
Mhm.
The subject creates the object.
Right.
Then the object becomes a resource
I
for future subjects.
Which is what happens in gender history. That women become objects, that
Mhm.
men have stories around these objects, feelings
Mhm.
around. That's not
Yeah.
true, but it's like part of the critique, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is
When you're of the people that get turned into objects, you know it's a construct. You know it's not true. Yeah.
but those are helpful because they're resources that are given to you as a subject.
Mhm.
You can relate to them,
Mhm.
the objects, and find meaning in them, and let it helps contribute to what you're making right now
Yeah.
in real time, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah. I know we're over time, but it just makes me think of something my Druidry group was talking about. There's women that are marrying rivers in England.
Oh
A
wow!
woman married a river. And the idea behind it is to bring awareness to the river and talk about this relationship that she has and her love for it. And she's like Mrs. whatever the name of the river is, I can't remember which one. And so we were chatting about that and the
Yeah,
like.
that's really an example. That's a subjective relationship
Mhm.
with the river.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and then
it's a process. I mean, river's a
yeah,
perfect process
yeah,
example. You know,
yeah.
like Heraclitus said, you can never step in the same river twice.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is
I learned that growing up by a river for sure. Yeah.
that's a tenet of the process philosophy. Is
Yeah.
the root was always in the process of.
Mhm.
Was there something else you were going to say about that, Heather?
Oh no, it's cool though that we were just chatting about that today and then because I was like critical of it as a queer person. I was like, how can the river consent to this? And I was like, is this a monogamous marriage? Is this possession? So I was coming at it from that angle, but listening to my friends who are married and in loving marriages like talk about how positive this was for the river and the way that people were beginning to relate to the river as a person. So it moves from being a thing into being a person because it's in this kind of very special relationship, a commitment of love and mutual nurturing and support. So it like frames that relationship of marriage, which isn't something that I get, right? But that they get, and most people get that marriage is this beautiful thing that creates kinship across difference. Anyway, it was just like opened up so many things to just ask about that.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. Kinship for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, well, thank you so much for telling us those stories and getting them recorded. It was new in many ways to hear it all together. You know, there were new pieces for me.
Thank you for recording it and for
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
making these words something people can hear when we're not around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to have them recorded.
Yeah.
Zan, how's the chores going?
Oh, I've been listening for a while now. I didn't want to turn my camera on and distract everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I didn't know that that was the story that you based off everything off of. So I was reading it. I'm sorry, I was talking about when Grandy was talking about the prodigal sons.
Yeah.
So I just read it as like a refresher, and it's totally Grandy. That's so funny. I didn't know that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just like the most like welcoming, arms open philosophy to teach from the Bible, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
it just takes all the pressure off of it too, you know, like that forgiveness is it's like it's
It's
a
free.
gift. It's a gift rather than a reward, you know?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do anything for it. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to phrase it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I never heard exactly what the whole hour was taking about talking about my sermon for my going under Cure Presbytery, but I imagine there was a lot of debate going on.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. It is.
People have trouble with thinking of something for free. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
We always feel in debt.
Well, it's definitely in alignment with Calvinist ideas that you get grace without doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. I'm not, but you know, yeah. No, and I
Well,
think it's a timely to think through that lens actually today. It's almost moving, isn't it, Zan? Kind of moving.
Yeah, yeah. You could hear my voice crack.
oh,
Yeah. Something you need.
love you.
Love you guys. So fun.
Okay. Whew. Well,
Ready? Ready to
Yeah.
call it? Okay. I'm gonna
Make
stop
sure you-
recording.
Okay.
thank you.